The Awakening of Darius, a story of self-change. In the bustling city of Alaron, there lived a man named Darius, known throughout the streets as a scoundrel. Quick with a lie and quicker with his temper, he had a reputation for cheating at cards, deceiving merchants, and exploiting anyone who showed him kindness. Darius believed that life was about survival, and in his eyes the weak were meant to be taken advantage of. His charm and wit masked the darkness of his character, and despite the warnings of those around him, Darius never thought twice about his ways. Among those who tried to guide him was his childhood friend, Mira. She had grown up with Darius, and though they had once shared a bond, she had watched him change, slipping deeper into his own selfishness. Mira had tried many times to talk sense into him, urging him to leave behind his dishonest ways, but Darius always laughed off her concerns. "Life's a game, Mira," he would say with a smirk. "You win by playing smarter than the rest. Morals are for fools." One evening, after another night of gambling and trickery, Darius walked through the narrow streets, his pockets jingling with coins he had swindled from others. The thrill of victory was always fleeting, but tonight it felt particularly empty. As he strolled, he overheard a conversation between two merchants. They spoke of an upcoming royal contract that would bring wealth to anyone who secured it. Intrigued, Darius saw an opportunity. He schemed his way into the royal court, using lies and manipulation to position himself as the ideal candidate for the contract. His plan was flawless, or so he thought. The day came when the royal council announced their decision, and to Darius's delight, his name was called. He had won. He was about to step into a new level of wealth and influence. But as he stood before the king to receive his reward, an old man stepped forward from the crowd. "I know this man," the old man said. "He is a liar and a cheat. He deceives for his own gain and leaves ruin in his wake." The crowd murmured in shock, but the king raised his hand, silencing them. "Is this true?" the king asked, his voice firm but calm. Darius felt a moment of panic, but quickly composed himself, ready to spin another lie. But something stopped him. Mira's face flashed in his mind. He remembered all the times she had warned him, all the times she had tried to pull him back from the path he was on. In that moment, surrounded by the weight of his lies, Darius felt an unfamiliar sensation: shame. For the first time, he saw himself not through the lens of his schemes, but through the eyes of those he had hurt. His charm, his tricks, his entire way of living suddenly felt hollow. The king's eyes were on him, waiting for his response. Darius took a deep breath. "It is true," he admitted, his voice quieter than usual. "I've spent my life deceiving others. I've hurt people for my own gain. I don't deserve this contract." The crowd was stunned. Darius, the master of deception, had just admitted his guilt. The king, surprised by this rare display of honesty, studied him for a moment before speaking. "Then perhaps," the king said, "you should learn what it means to live an honest life. Your punishment is to serve the people you have wronged." Darius was dismissed, and the royal contract was given to another. The next few weeks were the hardest of Darius's life. He was made to work for those he had swindled, returning their goods, repairing what he had broken. At first, he resented every moment of it, feeling humiliated and angry. But slowly, something inside him began to change. As he worked among the people, hearing their stories and seeing the consequences of his actions, he began to understand the weight of the harm he had caused. He saw how his lies had destroyed trust, how his greed had left others in need, and with each passing day, the emptiness inside him grew, forcing him to confront the truth about himself. One evening, after a long day of labor, Mira found him sitting by the river, his usual arrogance gone. "I never thought I'd see you like this," she said, sitting beside him. You finally woke up." Darius nodded, staring at the water. "I didn't want to believe it, but I see it now. I've been blind for so long, thinking I was winning. But I was only digging my own grave." Mira smiled softly. "No one could have changed you but yourself, Darius. You had to see it on your own." From that moment, Darius made a vow to change, not because someone forced him to, but because he had finally realized the emptiness of his old ways. He began to rebuild his life, this time with honesty and integrity. It was a slow and difficult process, but for the first time, Darius felt a sense of purpose that no amount of wealth or trickery could ever provide. And so, the once proud trickster became known for his honesty and wisdom. The villagers would often tell the story of how Darius, the man who could deceive anyone, had finally deceived himself, until he woke up and saw the truth. The lesson of Darius's journey spread through Alaron. A bad character can only change if the person wakes up on their own, for true transformation comes from within, not from outside force.